Alrighty, J. Patrick Morgan, the wise man say dude, and this is a clip for episode 2 of the Electric Scooter Solar Roadshow. Today is the day one of the major purchases preparing for the show happened, and I told you that I would make videos of clips of getting prepared for the show in this pre-series before I get on the road. So, minus the Walmart bags, which is more groceries than anything else, but I do have, you see those little gold letters? They're going on the trailer. It's going to say Electric Scooter Roadshow in gold on the back end of the trailer in that spot. And there'll be a post coming up on the corners where there will be a roof over on this. The roof over is actually more for propping up solar panels while going down on the road. As you can also see here at the present moment, seeing as I'm at Walmart and they have a plug outside, I'm plugged in. The whole idea of the solar thing is to have to plug in less. The whole idea of the upgraded battery is to be able to get tons more miles before you have to plug in again. The solar will be supplementing the charge that I would normally get out of a electrical outlet. Also, there's been discussion, and we think we can make it work for a roller to go on one of these trailer tires. I gotta stop on the way home to a gas station with an air pump and get this. They were a little bit low. I think they do that in case somebody tries to steal the trailer from Tractor Supply. Yeah, this one came from Tractor Supply. So did the dog carrier for Miss Ezra. That came from Tractor Supply also. Yeah, alternator will roll off from one of those tires, charging a 12 volt that's hooked up to a 2000 watt power inverter. If you don't know what a power inverter is, it transfers 12 volts out of a camper or car battery into 110 volts so you can run house items.
How you doing?
Yeah, that's what the power inverter would do. You'd be charging with starting out, and I'll upgrade to more wattage later, 300 watts of solar power into the 12 volt battery. And it's to supplement for days that are not nice and sunshiny and beautiful, even though the solar panels that I'm getting are supposed to be high intensity, still supposed to charge pretty decent on a cloudy day, would be that little alternator rolling off from the wheel. The wheel rolls, therefore the alternator rolls, and as long as I calculated it out to be 7 miles an hour, unless I put a bigger size to tiny size pulley system going off from that tire instead, I could get that 2400 RPMs at 4 miles an hour if I add an extra pulley / gear between the two to make sure that it's spinning fast enough to charge at lower speeds. That way there'll be a constant charge on the battery while it's rolling. You would be transferring that charge into the 36 volts of battery through the charger mechanisms. There's a special different charger for the 20 amp hour battery that's on order and will be arriving in about a week and a half. The 20 amp hours will take me long distances so I can go between towns instead of inside the metro area like the current factory battery only goes around Eunice. If I tried to go to any of the next towns over, I would be pretty much out of battery before I got to those towns on the factory battery setup. There'll be a switch between the two. If I get really low on the 20 amp hours, I can switch over to the factory and it'll get me an extra, well, with a loaded up dump trailer now, with loaded up with camping equipment and so on and so forth. It'll get me about 7 more miles. The factory battery will. And 7 miles is probably all I would need, because I should be able to get between 17 and 20 miles on a 20 amp hour battery. So there's your town-to-town thing. I'll have to use less charging time as long as I'm getting pretty good continuous charge from solar panels and alternators. When I'm stopped to do any charging whatsoever, there will also be a regular car charger to bring the battery up to a full charge within probably a half an hour or less, the 12 volt battery. The 12 volt battery won't just be charging the scooter itself. The 12 volt battery will be used for lights and notebook computers and cell phone charging and little things inside the tent. The propane tank won't be just used for the campfire cooker. It would actually last me 6 weeks if I just used the camper's propane cooker. 20-pound tank converts over to the hookup where a 1-pound screw-on thing usually goes. That's about 6 weeks if I'm using the camp cooker. But for the colder nights, there will be a nice little ventless propane heater inside the tent, heating the inside of the sleeping bag by the sleeping bag hanging up above the propane heater. These heaters are very safe. They kick off just as soon as they get knocked over sideways, so it's not going to catch anything on fire. It won't be setting close to the sleeping bag or close to any kind of fabric. The tent itself will be flame retardant anyways, but it won't even be sitting close to the edge of the tent either. Oh. This is the clip of, it looks like it's just over 8 minutes, of Electric Scooter Solar Roadshow pre-series episode 2, going up on YouTube and Rumble today. And you'll get a couple other clips on this as we modify both the trailer and the scooter. Sayonara. And here we are. Another clip for the Electric Scooter Solar Roadshow, episode 3, and it's called How It's Going to Work. Well, I got the wagon, and in clip 1 I showed you a little bit of how it needs to work. Told you about some modifications that need to be done. I discovered one more modification where the wheel system needs to be stabilized a little better to go at a higher speed. I already know how to do that. So therefore, that's a kind of a nothing burger. I got the sign on the back and the side of the trailer done already. A friend of mine has brought in some steel slats that went to a store display that are going to be modified into the frame where the solar roof is going to attach on the wagon. Talked about the battery that would be charged by solar and also by alternator as a supplement to solar for the cloudy days, so that I won't have to plug into grid power very much in my travels. Yeah, it's still going to happen once in a while. I got a little better trick for all of it. Everything can be charged at once. The deep cycle battery can be charged with a standard car charger if necessary, and I'll have a standard car charger with me. Chances are I might run into somebody alongside of the road who has a bad battery or alternator, and can give them a charge by the car charger plugging into the deep cell battery, which would have a 2,000 watt inverter on it. 2,000 watts would give me enough to temporarily run a hot plate, and hot plates are very high wattage. But I won't be using a hot plate. All my cooking's going to be on propane. If I run out of propane, there's all kinds of falling down branches. I'll cook with wood. But how it's going to work doesn't necessarily 100% have to do with the technology on the scooter and the trailer. How it's going to work is basically already how it's working on a much bigger level. And so I'm going to explain that a little bit to you. Early on, I had videos concerning Trenches for God. Some of the funding is dried up for Trenches for God. It was going to be difficult to get a lot of the things that I would need to bless people around neighborhoods and so on, and participate in that. And plus there was some incompatible video shows that went around it, and but I'm still Outpost 1167. That hasn't changed. What's going on is society here. Society used to be, you had little communities, villages, towns, this and that. They would trade amongst each other. Sometimes that trading would be government cash. Everybody had to pay taxes. Everybody still has to pay taxes. That sort of thing. But most of the time, society used to be, you would trade amongst each other in the community, and there would be traveling people that come through here and there that trade into the community, and people who travel out of the community and go trade in other communities and bring things back. You had a full scale of options of trading food for services and supplies or tools for something else, and this and that and the other thing. And the other thing about society and what it used to be is if society rejected you, you had some place to go. Mormons were rejected by mainstream Christianity, run out of different towns, and not nicely, in some cases very violently, run out of town for what they believe. Eventually they piled up into an area and made their own state, Utah. From all the rejection of eastern United States during the rise of Mormonism, they migrated themselves out. Grizzly Adams, I believe, is not just a legend, but a real person. Didn't know how to prove his innocence for a crime he didn't commit, and of course didn't want to die either. Wandered out into the wilderness, lived off from the wilderness. You had Mad Jack and this Native American dude and these different people that were the only people that he was around. and like that. Where any place where society becomes a problem for you, you used to just be able to go somewhere. There's nowhere to go. There's modernized countries all over the world. I guess you could probably go to a third world country and rough it there, but for the most part, there's modernized countries all over the world with a big central bank system that's connected to an international bank system, and society is rejecting you if you don't follow along with society. It's a wise man once said, subdivisions in high school halls, in the shopping malls, conform or be cast out. Subdivisions in the basement bars, in the backs of cars, be cool or be cast out. And any escape might help disprove the unattractive truth, but the suburbs have no charms to soothe the restless dreams of youth. Society, when they reject you now because you reject something that you don't think is right about modern society, they're going with the coercion thing that we talked about in end of days discussion. You don't want to get vaccinated? Well, I guess you can't have this job, that job, the other job. You don't want the hassle of being tested twice a week and have to wear a mask 24/7 and stuff at your job and stuff like that. You're rejecting modern society while you're doing that. You're just and they're rejecting you right back. You don't get to travel, you don't get to do this, you don't get to do that. They force this crap on you, they push it on you. They want to give it to 5 to 11-year-old kids that don't die from COVID-19 unless they have some severe comorbidities to help that along. That's their rejection of you. You don't get to live in society. The whole idea of this running off from solar, not having to plug in to grid, there'll be times when electrical grid goes out. And I'm not talking about just by accident. I'm talking about on purpose. You got a civil war and martial law and things going on, and you got the most rebellious of the rebellious all in one general area. They want to make you disadvantaged, and they're going to cut your power. Even if you're an individual in a house, a lot of times if they're going to have a SWAT team raid, they're going to cut your power. These things you want to kind of prepare for if you're going to reject the world, as I'm doing, and do it different and do it the way you know is the right way. They're going to come down on you, and they're going to come down on you hard. They're going to come down on me. And I got people that say the most ridiculous things, like Jesus would never ask you to put your life in danger, and he wouldn't. His life wasn't in danger when he came up against the Pharisees and they set him up to be arrested by the Romans. His life wasn't in danger when the king was going after every firstborn in the city. Jesus wouldn't wander out into the wilderness and be alone. Oh, he wouldn't? Well, what was that 40 days thing? This is about what Jesus would do, and accepting Jesus and rejecting the world. The world wants to force you into a modern technocracy society where you believe that you're going to get everlasting life from the government and science instead of everlasting life from God and Jesus. and they're going to push that down on you hard. They want you to do the mark of the beast and all that sort of thing. And the people that live outside society, that choose God and reject society, which won't be a lot of people will die in the process. Especially if they're not prepared, or only think that they're prepared and they're not prepared. On the return and judgment's day, those people will come crawling out of the rocks. They'll be going back to cavemanism kind of living, and pretty much depending on God to feed them and supply for them, because the world has a catch-22 to feed and supply things for you. It's going to sound fantastic. Everything gets to be free. The government will provide you with everything, blah, 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 if you get vaccinated, if you accept the mark of the beast, if you accept the one world religion instead of which one you know is to be true. If there's all those ifs, and I don't accept the if. I don't accept the catch-22. I'm going to get off disability. But getting off disability would probably require having a job where you got to wear a mask all day. And if you don't get vaccinated, you got to get checked a couple times a week to see if you have coronavirus and stuff like that. So therefore, I got to go to work for myself. The work for myself can be getting promotions and sponsorship money from all the things that people would be encouraged to buy if they're preparing to go off-grid and reject society. And if the corporations, they don't want to do the sponsorship for those things, my tools are going along with me. I'll fix a door, I'll fix a light switch, I'll fix a part of a porch that's coming apart, or a section of the house that became termite infested at one time, and a little bit weak, put up new framing boards, paint, do yard work. My tools are going with me on the trip, and I'll do little things like that. And if I can't get that kind of work, while I get a disability check, I'll be investing in all kinds of little things concerning hunting. And I'll even have a nice little book about all the edible things in the woods that you can eat. Taste terrible, oh well. I'll take my bottle of Tony Chachere's with me until it runs out, and I'll spice the crap out of it if it tastes terrible. If it's edible, I'll eat it. The little yellow half flower shaped mushrooms that grow off the side of hardwood, that fungus there, just as edible as the mushrooms you buy out of the store. Make a little fried mushroom thing over a campfire, whatever. And crossbow, I could, I'm not steady with a rifle, and I can actually make a lot of my own spears. Keep spare tips for larger game, because you have to have a special tip that goes in somewhere good and takes down larger game. And snare traps, all kinds of different things. You can eat plain old rats. The idea, the rats they're disgusting and they're dirty, and well, chickens are disgusting and dirty, but if you cook them all the way through, you're not going to get salmonella. If rats is all I'll have to eat, I'll eat rats. Snakes, whatever. If you cook them thoroughly, whatever is in there that's a disease that they have carried or anything like that, then What's the risk? There is no risk. The only risk is that they keep poisoning the environment too, so there's poisons and stuff in there. But then we go back to another discussion I had, where you pray over the food. You're praying to bless the food. Blessed food goes through your body and sorts out all the toxins, if there's toxins in there, and absorbs all the nutrients when there's nutrients in there. You're blessing the food, because any food can be poisoned. They used to try to poison people that they didn't want taking over the throne back in the day. They had other people try the food so that the royalty could not be poisoned. So rejecting society, and therefore society is going to reject me, and it's just like a vindictive girlfriend or boyfriend. When you reject them, they're going to reject you back in harsh ways. Like the psycho ones on TV, you don't want them anymore, so that they try to kill you or kill your family or whatever. Government's no different. See, the difference that I'm talking about in society, where you used to be able to leave, there's no place to go. The other difference is that society's no longer a community. Society is one big giant international corporation. In modernism, anyways. In modernism, society is big banks and these big corporations, and they sell you this, they sell you that, they get you trapped in with loans, and that's the society of today. It's the biggest racket that the devil made for fun. That's what society is today. Why am I promoting for you to get solar panels and be self-sufficient, learn how to store up food outside of electricity, like canning food, drying and dehydrating food, having long storage food like squash down in the root cellar. As long as you don't make a cut in that squash is not going to rot for a couple years. Those things are what you need to reject society, and I'm encouraging you today, as part of the Electric Scooter Solar Road Show, tell society to get lost. You know what's right, you know what God is telling you right, and what Jesus is telling you right, and it's not necessarily what the preacher and bishop is telling you right. And it's really time to grab the puke bucket when some of these politicians start talking about God, because they have no clue. And so you get ready to reject the world as I reject the world. The video series with me traveling sometimes not even 10 to 25 miles. There might be some days that I might get 5 miles, and there might be some days that I just sit in a certain area for a little while, do a little work for people, this and that, and wait out something. Like if there's a storm ahead of me, and if I keep going east, I'm going to run right into the storm, I might as well sit in a town for a few days. Those kind of things. What you're going to see in Electric Scooter Solar Road Show is everything to prepare to reject my disability check, because that's blood money from a government that's corrupt. I'm going to be rejecting vaccines. Wide is the path to destruction. They say 90% of people in certain areas have got the vaccine. That's a wide path versus 10% that didn't get the vaccine. That's a path of righteousness. You want to know how to avoid the mark of the beast, and know what the mark of the beast is, and not be sucked into the mark of the beast. You take the narrow path. Whatever is popular, if it's Maroon colored hoodies are trendy. I'm throwing it out. I'm getting something that's not trendy. You know, go with the trends. Don't follow the big crowds. Don't be part of the circle. It's as simple as that. The things that everybody in the world are accepting and running with is what you run against instead of running with. Electric Scooter Roadshow, end of day's discussion. Real apolitical news, because I told you about the 5 to 11-year-old that are pushing to vaccinate now, so you got your update if you ain't been paying attention there. Everything about that is me rejecting what the news says in real apolitical news. I'm rejecting the mainstream Christianity. They want to be optimistic and say that God, this isn't the end of the days yet, that God's going to pull us out of this, you know, or Trump will save us. I love that one. Trump will save us. He doesn't even know what religion he grew up in. Go look at the video clip. I don't know. I think maybe Lutheran. You know, he doesn't even know which denomination he belonged to. What does he know about God? Zilch. It's just me rejecting the world. Tired of the world. And that's that. J. Patrick Morgan, Electric Scooter Solar Roadshow. Bye, y'all.